I was absolutely convinced that you could not be gay and Christian. In my mind, it was like the diagnosis for a disease. It was like, you got the gay, and now you got to figure out how to get cured.
This is Justin's interview, take one.
I grew up in a home filled with love, and a home that was very, very Christian. For a lot of Christians I knew, homosexuality was the issue that if you don't agree with our theological position, and not just our theological position, but our cultural position on homosexuality as a topic, then you're not one of us. I never questioned that. I believed that being gay was a sin and a choice. It was something that people just decided to be for whatever reason, and that God didn't want them to make that choice. My image of gay men was that they spent their time marching in pride parades in thongs or something, and I don't know what I guess I thought that was their whole life. I didn't think about it deeply enough to even be curious about what the rest of their life might be. I knew growing up that there were some Christians who thought it was okay to be gay, but in my church we considered them to not be real Christians who knew their Bibles. I had a girlfriend. I loved her very much. She was like a sister to me. I thought that the fact that I didn't have attraction to her was because I was such a good Christian boy and I didn't lust. We went to a Christian concert, and in the middle of this concert, there was a guy who walked past. He was very attractive, and I noticed him. And immediately, I'm thinking about this guy, and I'm thinking, where does he go to school? And what's he like? And I could just stare into his eyes, and I'm having all these thoughts about somebody I saw for a fleeting moment while sitting here with my girlfriend. And so I'm holding her hand and thinking about this other guy who walked past, and I'm thinking, something is not right here. Something is really wrong. And I think that was the first moment when it really started to occur to me that maybe when my guy friends talked about girls that they were really into, that was what they were feeling. It didn't even occur to me that I could be gay because I had so little in common with my image of who gay people were. And I really, truly thought that with prayer, therapy, faith, whatever it took, that I was going to become straight, that God was going to make me straight. I got connected with what were then called ex-gay ministries and met these ex-gay leaders from around the world, and all of these people who I'd heard stories about who supposedly had become straight, and then I would meet them in person and talk to them privately and find out that they hadn't actually become straight. And it threw my world into this spin because I believed that gay people who wanted to be straight could be, and that's what was going to happen for me. And then it turned out it wasn't happening even for these people whose testimonies publicly were that they'd become straight. And so at that point, I didn't know what to believe anymore. I knew I was a Christian, but I also couldn't deny that I was gay. I was crying myself to sleep night after night, praying to God to take these feelings away, from me. It caused a lot of folks to distance themselves from me, a lot of people within my Christian community. And that really hurt because I hadn't changed. I was the same person. It just made me feel bad about myself. Made me feel alone, like I didn't have a community. In college, I made friends with other LGBTQ people, but for the most part, they didn't come from the kind of background I did and have the kind of, the faith and the specific beliefs that I had that were so important to me. And the people I knew who had that faith in those beliefs didn't understand that I was gay. And so it felt to me like I had to choose between two parts of myself if I wanted to have a community, and neither one of them felt like a community where I could be truly myself. There are a lot of folks on both sides who think of this as an us versus them thing. I worked as best I could to try to build some bridges and help them understand each other, because I knew really nice people on both sides of this divide. I helped to organize this dialogue on my college campus between the campus LGBTQ organization and the campus evangelical Christian organization. I got 10 minutes to just share my story. And afterwards, I had so many of these evangelical kids coming up to me and saying, I never heard a story like that from a gay person. I didn't know that's what it felt like. I didn't realize that's how we were coming across. It's not that my story is all that unique or fascinating, but it was a story they hadn't heard. And I started to realize stories are powerful. Just sharing my story, just telling people what I had been through was this really powerful way to change hearts and minds. Curiosity is what motivates us to do some of the difficult things, the listening and the storytelling and the dialogue that we have to do if we want to reach people and convince them to think about things differently. If you and I disagree on something that's important to me, and I believe you're causing harm with your position, then a lack of curiosity would lead me to just decide you're the enemy. Curiosity leads me to say, okay, this person thinks that what they're doing is right. So why? Why do they believe it? What have they been through? What is this really about for them? How can I connect with them on that level? Having that level of curiosity opens the door for me to actually get to know you as a person, to discover you're multifaceted, to discover there are things about you I like, even though I still think you're wrong and doing harm. And in the midst of that, I may learn that underneath this big disagreement, there are good things you're trying to get to. And maybe I can help to redirect that. Maybe there's another way for you to get to those things without doing the harm. The dialogues that I have in LGBTQ and Christian spaces are important in the same way that our dialogues across political lines and racial lines and other things are important. That if we're not having dialogues with people who are different from us and have different experiences and sometimes different beliefs, I don't know where we go as a country or as a society. I don't think anybody comes out of the womb just knowing how to have dialogue with people who say hurtful things or do hurtful things. I think our natural instinct is to fight them. But I think we can fight the hurt and the harm without fighting the people. We can fight the hurt and the harm by being peaceful and kind, but very intentional about how we dialogue, not in a way that glosses over our differences, but that really deals with them in an honest and authentic way, but with kindness and compassion and listening. The more practice we get as a country, the closer we get to being able to actually solve problems. I will not pretend it's easy work. It's not, but I think it's essential.